He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on a very rainy, wet, cold evening here in Northeast Florida. Be careful out there driving in from Mandarin. Yikes. The rain was picking up. It was like 35 degrees. I was talking to some buddies in the Panhandle. There is a good amount of snow on the ground out in Pensacola, over there in Orange Beach, Alabama. It is wild out there. They're predicting like 4 inches of snow in Valdosta between tonight and tomorrow. I don't know if the snow is going to make it all the way over here, but I know Duval County Public Schools have been canceled for tomorrow, so be careful out there if you're driving. No question about that. A lot to get into tonight. Obviously, what are we at here? All the days are running together. I guess day 15 of the Jaguar coaching search. Have you recovered from yesterday? Did you take a deep breath? Kind of let it all out, let all the frustration out about Ben Johnson not coming here and now just kind of evaluate things? I hope so, because obviously there were a lot of angry Jaguar fans here in our area yesterday. Ben Johnson made a appearance at Hallis Hall in Chicago today, getting the locals all fired up. Good for them. We'll see what happens. Talking to people up in Washington, though, that cover the Commanders about the Ben Johnson thing last year, some interesting stories that I heard. Won't share them on the air, won't share all of them on the air, but his interview didn't really go all that well from what I was told up there last year. He made some comments about them that they didn't really appreciate from an organization standpoint. Ultimately goes back to Detroit. Obviously, Washington worked out pretty well when they hired Dan Quinn. So we'll see. As I told you last night, I think Ben Johnson's going to be very good. And he better be very good, because there are a ton of expectations on this guy who has never been a head coach in the NFL in his life. For Chicago to give him upwards of $12 to $13 million a year, and I don't believe they met with him in person. They did one Zoom interview, and then they hire him. Just interesting. Chicago's certainly taking a chance. Maybe it works out for him. Maybe it does. We'll see. Obviously, there are a lot of people here in Jacksonville that wish Ben Johnson would have come here. Ben Johnson was number one on my list, but you guys can go back and find this. It's not hard. That's the good thing about what we do here on Hacker After Dark. Most everything is documented on the MyBookie digital platform and all our social media channels. Along with me saying Ben Johnson was my number one, I always said Liam Cohen was right there as well. And if it lands on Cohen, and I'm going to get into this in a moment, I'm going to be pretty happy. And I'm curious what your reaction would be. So a lot of Jaguar talk tonight. Obviously, a lot of head coaching searches tonight. The carousel around the league. One would think Aaron Glenn is any minute going to be named the head coach of the New York Jets, although he apparently left the Jets facility today without a deal, which I guess is somewhat interesting. But we'll go over all the head coaching carousel news around the National Football League. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports, very close to that Tampa organization down there with the Buccaneers. I'm going to bring on a lot of guys this week to talk about Liam Cohen, because I believe that is probably where it's headed for the Jacksonville Jaguar head coaching position. So Luke Easterling, who has a very strong opinion of what Liam Cohen did in Tampa with Baker Mayfield and what Liam Cohen potentially could do here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk all things Liam Cohen with Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. Also, Mike Patton, who is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. We'll talk Jaguars. We'll talk about the brand new general manager with the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about the Texans season coming to an end. And we'll talk about 2025 being make it or break it for Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. So Mike Patton of the Touring the AFC South podcast joins me at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. As always, we're glad you're with us on a very wet, rainy Tuesday night here in Jacksonville. Every night on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Boy, there was some raw emotion in this city yesterday when Ben Johnson chose the Chicago Bears. There was some raw emotion 15 days ago when Shad Khan fired Doug Peterson but kept general manager Trent Baalke. The fans have kind of had enough, right? You can only get kicked so many times. You can only get beat down so many times. You can only lose so many times before you've just had enough. 64 wins and 148 losses since the beginning of 2012. 64 wins in 13 seasons for the Jacksonville Jaguars since Shad Khan bought this football team. Horrible. It's horrific. I know it's horrific. You know it's horrific. And I think they know it's horrific. Look, I think Shad Khan wants to win. Obviously. The guy doesn't want to lose. All right? The guy wouldn't spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on free agency. Millions of dollars on contract re-signings. Millions of dollars on the Miller Electric Center. Millions upon millions of dollars for the stadium of the future, the scoreboards, the pools, everything he's done with the stadium now and with the stadium that's coming, with the brand new practice facility, with all the activity in free agency and contract re-signings. I mean, I give Shad Khan credit in that department. He wants to win, but it just has not worked out. And it hasn't worked out for several reasons, but to me, and we've talked about this basically for the last month and a half, is that Shad Khan's too loyal. And when I was thinking about that earlier, he was obviously too loyal with Dave Caldwell. Ridiculously loyal with Dave Caldwell was terrible at his job. Terrible. And he was here parts of 8 years, which was preposterous. Gus Bradley was here a year longer than he should have been. Doug Marrone was probably here a year longer than he should have been. He had to cut ties with Urban Meyer because that was a absolute train wreck. About right with Doug Peterson. I'll give Shad Khan credit there. Doug Peterson didn't outstay his welcome. He would have if he would have been given another year, but Doug Peterson was cut loose probably about the time he should have been. Trent Baalke should have been cut loose as well, but he was not. And it's just like, why? Why does Trent Baalke remain here in Jacksonville? That's the question we've been asking ourselves for the last 15 days. And at the end of the day, I think what we need to realize is it comes down to trust. For whatever reason, whatever the reasoning is, which obviously I don't have any idea, you don't have any idea why he would feel this way, the guy making the decisions here in Jacksonville, the owner of the team, trusts Trent Baalke. Do I agree with it? No. Do you agree with it? Obviously not. I've seen your reaction all over social media. I've seen your reaction on the text line. I've seen my own group of friends and what they're sending me. I know you don't agree with the trust that Shad Khan has in Trent Baalke, but he has it. And you just got to hope that the Jaguars can overcome a mediocre general manager, because that's what Trent Baalke is, man. He's a mediocre general manager. Is he bad? I don't know if I would use the term bad. I certainly wouldn't use the term awful. I would say below average. If you construe below average as bad, then all right, maybe he is bad. For every good thing Trent Baalke has done here, you can point out one or two things to offset it. Trent Baalke has done fair in the draft, not good, average at best. Trent Baalke has not done a good job in free agency. But moreover, Trent Baalke's win-loss record is horrible. And you can legitimately argue that Trent Baalke is costing you head coaching candidates. You can argue that. Whether that's 100% accurate, that is the perception that is out there. Ben Johnson did not come here for an in-person interview. Aaron Glenn has not agreed to come here for an in-person interview. Hasn't even been asked. Why is that? Everybody was so high on Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Johnson already has a job. Glenn is expected to take either New York or New Orleans. Neither one of them is going to come for an in-person interview. Why? That's odd, right? You think about all the other guys they interviewed. Joe Brady, obviously he's still playing right now, but that's another guy people would be interested in talking to. Kellen Moore, Todd Monken, right? He's available. He's not coming for an in-person interview. Why? The three guys that are coming are Liam Cohen, who's been an offensive coordinator 2 years in the NFL and been a play caller for 1 year. Patrick Graham, who most of us would not know if he walked into the room right next to us right now. And Robert Saleh, who probably wasn't given a fair deal in New York, but teams haven't exactly been beating his door down to try to hire him as their head coach. That's what you got as the three people coming in here. And some people say, well, that's not all Trent Baalke. Oh, I don't know if it is or if it isn't. What I do know is where there's this much smoke, there's fire. And I've heard enough people say enough negative things about Trent Baalke that perception can turn into reality very quickly. And the perception I've gotten from people around the league, Hall of Fame voters, media members, etc., is that Baalke has hurt this organization during this coaching search. Again, maybe that's not entirely accurate. I don't know. But that's the perception. Those are the optics out there. And nothing really has been said or stated to oppose those optics or that perception. Here's the thing, and this is where I landed today. All the negativity about losing Ben Johnson to Chicago, I'm not even sure you lost Ben Johnson to Chicago. Again, that's the perception. He was hired less than 48 hours after his team lost in the playoffs. He didn't take any in-person interviews. Chicago just hired him on the spot. All right, good for them. It's a bold move by Chicago. We'll see if it pays off. But again, the perception is the Jaguars lost Ben Johnson. That's what you, the fans, believe happened. And I'm not saying you're wrong. You could be right about that. But after you take a deep breath and you shake the cobwebs off, and you get back to focusing on the search, what if it lands on Liam Cohen as the head coach? And what if it lands on either Robert Saleh or Patrick Graham as the defensive coordinator? You could do a lot worse, man. You could do a lot worse. Yesterday sucked. Everybody wanted Ben Johnson. You didn't get him. We're Jaguar media. We're Jaguar fans. We're used to disappointment. We're used to failure. We're used to the Jaguars being Jaguars, right? It's not something we are unaccustomed to. So you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you get back focusing on the search. If it lands on Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh, sign me up. If it lands on Cohen or potentially Patrick Graham as the DC, I'd be okay with that as well. If it doesn't land on Cohen and it lands on somebody else being the head coach, you can't say you'd be surprised. That would be another example of the Jaguars are going to Jaguar. I truly hope that's not the case. I truly hope Liam Cohen is the guy. And if he is the guy, I think that at least salvages, from a perception standpoint, this search. If he's not the guy, oh boy. 641-1010 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Your thoughts are always welcome. Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports does a great job covering not only the NFL, but also the NFL draft. We're going to talk about the Jaguars with that top 5 pick, do a little bit of an early dive into the draft. But Luke is a self-proclaimed Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. He's a fan of the organization. He used to live in Tampa. He's been around them for years. He's also a big fan of Liam Cohen. I'm going to let him tell you why he thinks Liam Cohen would be a terrific hire for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's next. Tuesday night, Hacker After Dark. Glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Dan Hicken.
Your mother tells me you're going to do one of your little comedy skits tomorrow.
And Jeff Prosser.
Why are we always yelling?
60% of the time, they talk sports all the time.
Newspapers are full of stories about him.
They are The Drill. Mornings on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. The best weight loss program I've ever been on. You know, it's easy for me to say that. I was on a lot of weight loss programs. You probably remember hearing some over the years, right? And yeah, I would lose 5 or 10 pounds, and that would be awesome. And a month later, I'd be 5 pounds heavier than I was when I started. I was in a bad spot, man. Bad spot. Things just weren't working for me. Was kind of losing hope, to be honest. And then I heard Matt and Mike talking about Awaken 180, so I gave them a call, got involved. 110 pounds later, I've gone from 317 to 205. Actually, I'm closer to 200 than I am 205. I've lost over 115 pounds. Awaken180weightloss.com. Awaken180weightloss.com. If you need to lose weight like I did, trust me, take it from me. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait, but
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners. So you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks.
Stay cooler with Bueller. Visit BuellerAir.com.
New year, new beginnings, and a new roof. Start 2025 with peace of mind and take advantage of Universal Roof and Contracting's limited time offer. 15% off all roof repairs and replacements. From leaks to full replacements, call 855-ROOF-HELP or visit universalroof.com to schedule your free roof inspection today. This special New Year deal ends January 31st. Universal Roof and Contracting, protecting your home and building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from,
We can be twinsies.
to,
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web. Precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
Make a resolution this new year to send all of your friends or family a Kuhn Flowers floral arrangement. ET here with 1010XL. Okay, how about sending just one person you love a floral arrangement? Kuhn Flowers can handle it.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Bari for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
The big game is almost here, and Sonny's Barbecue wants you to win a barbecue feast. Text Sonny's to the text line brought to you by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010 for your chance to win. 641-1010.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security has a huge prize sweepstakes now through the big game. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a sound bar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box for your chance to win the $2,500 prize now through February 9th. Tyson Sound and Security now at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T here, and it's a brand new year, which means a brand new you, especially in the bedroom. So if you're ready to make 2025 the year to level up where it counts, let me make it a little easier for you. Get yourself some Blue Chew. They've got a chewable tablet that has the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin. That means you're getting top-tier performance, my boy, without leaving the house. Blue Chew comes right to your front door in a discreet package, so your neighbors won't even know what's going on. But you will. No doctor's offices and no pharmacy run. Just licensed medical providers helping you find the right prescription. And guess what? They're made right here in the USA. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Yeah, you heard me. Your first month is free. So what you waiting for? Visit BlueChew.com and get a consultation. And start your year off with confidence to keep things interesting in that bedroom. Get that Blue Chew at BlueChew.com, baby. Let's make this year unforgettable.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We've entered week 3 of the Jaguar head coaching search. Of course, Doug Peterson was fired back on January 6th. And now here we sit more than 2 weeks later. We've had over 10 interviews. We got guys coming back for second interviews. And we'll see how much longer we have to wait until the brand new Jaguar head coach is announced. Let's talk about that. Let's focus on Liam Cohen a little bit. That's at least the vibe that some of us are getting, is that Liam Cohen is very much in play here. And let's take an early look at the Jaguar draft. Again, a top 5 pick for whomever takes over this Jaguar football team. Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports, one of our favorites to talk NFL with here on 1010XL. Luke, how we doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you, Ryan?
Luke, we're good. Thank you for the time. All right, you and I haven't spoke since the firing of Doug Peterson and the retainment, I guess, of general manager Trent Baalke. Luke, what's your mile-high view on what the Jaguars did over 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think the Baalke situation is really the most interesting one because I don't think anybody was really surprised that they let Peterson go. I think you could, there's a lot of different ways you can, point the blame, as there always is in these considerations, these situations, but, just not good enough. You don't win enough games, and that's usually the first guy to go. And so I think the interesting thing with Baalke is I'm not sure how he continues to survive. They've made some good additions on both sides of the ball, but in terms of the ability to upgrade both the head coach and the general manager position with the candidates who are out there who have better track records, and that sort of thing, it's confusing to me that they went the direction they have, at least up to this point, where you fire the head coach but you retain the general manager who has hired the last couple of coaches that you fired. You know what I mean? So, clearly that's either an indication, from Shad Khan that he doesn't think talent and team building is the issue. That's usually what that communicates. But we've also heard some reports from different places that for the right head coach, he might be able to be convinced to bring in a different general manager in order to land that head coach. That's the interesting thing to me is do they, if they get locked into a particular head coaching candidate and that head coach says, the only way I'm going to come here is if you let me bring my own personnel man with me, and what Khan decides from there.
It's interesting in your work you've done covering the NFL draft. My point about Trent Baalke, Luke, is that, look, he's drafted some decent players, but to me there's a difference between Jaguar good and NFL good. I mean, look, Brian Thomas Jr. is NFL good. He's a stud, so I'll give Baalke a home run there. But we'll sit here and we'll talk about Anton Harrison, and we'll talk about Tyson Campbell and Walker Little and all these guys, and they're good, right? They're Jaguar good, but they're clearly not considered to be among the top 5, 10, 15 players at their position. So I think there's a disconnect there. Baalke's done some nice things when it comes to the Jaguar organization because that's not a high bar, yet the guys he's drafted have not, surpassed what we've known here for the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I agree, and I would add to that, I'm a big Trayvon Walker fan in terms of his development. I think he has become a productive player. But you passed on Aiden Hutchinson for him. Aiden Hutchinson has quickly become one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant edge defender in the league. I mean, I'm a Bucs fan. I had to watch him sack Baker Mayfield 5 times back in week 2. He is the type of guy that can single-handedly take over games a couple of years into his career. And so that's one of those things where I think you look at if you're trying to find, poke holes in Baalke's record. That's another one of those things you could look to and say, we got a good player, but did we pass on a transformative player in order to take him? And I think that points to that as well.
Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Luke, you mentioned the Bucs, so that brings me to Liam Cohen. Apparently, by all indications, had a terrific first interview here in Jacksonville. All eyes point to him getting a second interview at some point this week. I believe he is firmly in play to be the next head coach here. Will he be the next head coach? I'm not saying that yet, but I believe he is certainly in the conversation. What has your thought been on the 1 year for Liam Cohen in Tampa, and what type of head coach do you believe he would make?
Yeah, man, all you need to know about Liam Cohen and how they feel about him in Tampa is how angry Bucs fans are at the prospect of losing him. I mean, there is a not small number of Bucs fans, section of Bucs fans that would prefer the team fire Todd Bowles after winning 3 straight division championships just to make sure Liam Cohen doesn't get out of the building. And so that should tell you everything about what a guy in 1 year as a play caller on offense has done. And the numbers bear that out. I mean, if you look particularly at the run game, the Bucs were dead last, or I think 31st in the run game in the last 2 or 3 seasons in a row, and they were top 5 this season and a top 5 passing offense. One of the only offense in both those categories, if I'm correct, that was top 5 in both of those categories, passing and running the ball. So incredibly balanced. He's a modern play caller. I mean, this is a guy who spent time with Sean McVay in Los Angeles, went to Kentucky in between there, and was calling plays for the Wildcats and picking up some of the intricacies of what they're doing at the college game. But bringing that back to the NFL, he knows how to attack modern NFL defenses. He knows how to be very complex in his formations. We heard from Baker Mayfield early on in the offseason that this was a really difficult scheme to learn, but they knew it was going to pay off in the long run because of how complex it was, because of how innovative and creative and the ways in which they can present the same play 5 or 6 different ways, depending on the formations and the looks to the defense. And again, the numbers bore that out. I mean, the Bucs were the most balanced offense in the entire NFL this year. Baker Mayfield had career high numbers. Baker Mayfield was basically the third best quarterback in the NFL statistically this year. He was second in passing yards, or third in passing yards, I think, tied for second in touchdown passes with Lamar Jackson, who's probably going to win the MVP. Just an incredible year from him. And again, one thing that's underrated about those team stats with Liam Cohen is the Bucs had no Mike Evans for about a month, and they lost Chris Godwin in week 7 and didn't have him for the entire second half of the season, and they were still able to be so balanced and productive. That speaks to him as an offensive coordinator. What I can't speak to is what kind of head coach he'll be. I have no idea. He's never been a head coach. He's not even 40 years old yet. I mean, that's the part that I think not just the Bucs, if they were saying, hey, how do we keep this guy in town? Do we have to make him the head coach? But any other team that's going to interview him, I think he's going to wow them on the whiteboard. I think he's going to obviously have this year's success in Tampa Bay to show you, hey, this is what, I'm capable of. But it's a little bit more of a projection to say, hey, this is a guy who's going to be able to come in, be a leader in the locker room, be a guy that from a 30,000-foot level as a CEO type. How good is he going to be? Time management, in-game decisions and adjustments, and managing timeouts and fourth down calls and those sorts of things. When to punt, when to do all of those types of things that you have to have as a head coach. And is he going to retain play calling duties? And now you've got a young first-year head coach who's having to handle all those new responsibilities while trying to put together offensive game plans and execute them on Sundays. There's a lot of question marks there for a young, up-and-coming guy that you wouldn't have if you're talking about a Mike McCarthy or a Pete Carroll or a Ron Rivera, some of these other guys that have a ton of experience in that big chair.
Couple more for Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports. I thought you made some great points. And one thing about Liam Cohen, I guess 2 things that kind of have people's attention here in Jacksonville. And there's nothing he can do about the one. He's only spent 2 years as an NFL offensive coordinator, right? 1 year in L.A. with McVay. And as you mentioned, he went to Kentucky, and then he came back 1 year in Tampa, but only 2 years as a coordinator. And it's weird, Luke, in that he did so well reportedly with his interview here, yet the Jaguars, to my knowledge, are the only team that's talked to him about their head coaching job, right? I mean, that's odd. I don't know if that means something. I don't know if that means nothing, but it's certainly a conversation piece here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And again, that might be part of it. Again, even in the year he was with the Rams, obviously would have been McVay still calling the plays. So even though you have a coordinator title there, it's not quite the same thing. So this was his first year as a full-time play caller at the NFL level. And again, all the pluses are there. There's still just so many unknowns for a guy who is younger, who doesn't have as much experience at this level. Obviously, you're hoping, if this guy spent time with McVay and he's got the year that he's just had, you're hoping he can be that type of guy. Maybe he is the next Sean McVay, but again, it's a bit more of a projection than it is for some of these other guys. And I also think that, again, you've got compelling candidates throughout the rest of the league. If you want a more experienced guy, I mentioned 3 guys earlier who bring a ton of experience, multiple guys who have won Super Bowls at the highest level, obviously. And then you've got both of the Lions coordinators who are now available, I think, a little earlier than everybody expected. So Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson become part of the conversation much quicker. Maybe teams are going to wait and want to talk to Cliff Kingsbury after the run he's had this year with Jaden Daniels. So there's a lot of talent and a lot of positive candidates out there for people to look at. So maybe that contributes to it as well.
Whoever does get the head coaching job here in Jacksonville, Luke, will have the benefit of a top 5 pick in the draft. The Jaguars scheduled to pick 5th, and I believe they have 6 picks in the top 120 because they have Minnesota's 3rd and 4th also from a trade last year. So you have quite a good draft haul in the first 120 picks this year. In regards to that 5th overall pick, obviously very, very early in the process. The names we're hearing, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, both guys from Michigan, right? Graham and Johnson. One would think 1 or 2 of those guys would have to be there at number 5, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think there will be. I think we will see a couple quarterbacks go in the top 5, which is obviously music to the Jags' ears, right? As many as possible so they can push that talent at other positions down to them. I do expect Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter to be off the board. I don't think they get out of the top 3. I just think they're too unique as players. You know, obviously Travis Hunter being what he is, being an elite corner and receiver, even if he only plays one side of the ball at the next level, I think he's that good at both of those things. You can pick and choose where you want to line him up, and I think he's a top 5 talent. And Abdul Carter is just basically Micah Parsons again. You know, I know it's an easy comparison because they play the same position, wear the same number, went to the same school, but man, he is just that kind of impact player off the edge, and those types of pass rushers. It wouldn't shock me if the Titans took him number 1 overall over the quarterbacks, over Travis Hunter. Just would not surprise me at all. I think that he's that much of a game-changing type of player. So for the Jags at 5, those 2 Michigan guys are the guys I'm really zeroed in on. I think Mason Graham as an interior presence, just a disruptive, athletic guy, can stop the run, can push the pocket as a passer, both with power and with speed and explosiveness for a bigger guy. Just the type of inside guy that can take over games and shut down the run game and you know, flirt with double-digit sacks as an inside guy, which is hard to do. And then Will Johnson is a guy, you know, really disappointed. He was kind of banged up throughout the 2044 season. We didn't really get to see as good as he can be for the whole season, but man, just a guy that brings all the physical tools, great playmaking instincts, a guy that can break on the ball and take it to the house as we've seen him do before. Just checks every box. If you're looking for a shutdown corner, absolutely worth a top 5 pick. Those 2 Michigan guys are definitely the guys that I would be hoping to be able to choose between if I'm the Jags at 5.
And we'll obviously do much more of that with you as we get into the weeks and months closer to the NFL draft, but that appears to be the way it's going. Those 2 Michigan guys are 2 guys the Jaguar fans definitely need to look at. Luke, final question. Just the work you do around the NFL, the work you do covering the draft. Jaden Daniels, you obviously spent a lot of time looking at him last year. To see what he has turned into in Washington, to see what he has done for that organization, and to see that he is 1 win away from a Super Bowl in his rookie year. I mean, what do you think of the job that Jaden Daniels has done in year number 1?
I mean, I think it's incredible, and I think the thing that I tried to tell people going into that draft that I don't think Jaden Daniels got enough credit for was he had just played so much football already. I mean, this is a guy who was a starter as a freshman at Arizona State. He was throwing passes to Brandon Ayuk at Arizona State.
Wow.
I mean, that's how long he's been playing college football. And so it was funny to me. I mentioned this, I think, on Twitter when the Falcons played the Commanders a few weeks ago, and everybody was like, man, look at these 2 rookie quarterbacks playing like veterans. Michael Penix Jr. and Jaden Daniels combined for 100 starts at the college level in Power 5 conferences. Penix Jr. at Indiana and then transferring to Washington. Jaden Daniels, obviously, at Arizona State before going to LSU. And so those guys, and again, we're talking about Jaden Daniels, so I'll zero in on him. When you started 45, 50 games at the college level against Power 5 competition, that means you have played in every game, every type of game. You've had to come back. You've had to hold a lead. You've had to get a 4th and 2 to win the game. You've had to make a 3rd and 8, a 4th and 11. You've had to do all the different types of things to win games. You've lost those games. You've learned those lessons, and you've played against top competition and guys that you're now playing against in the NFL. And so when you do that for that long and you have that many reps in those high leverage situations, those pressure situations, trying to make clutch plays, you've missed the throws and then you've made them the next time. All of that combines to see the guy that we've seen roll through these playoffs with the smile on his face, looking like he's just, it's just a walk in the park, right? It all contributes, and it all goes back to the fact that, again, he's played so much football. He is so comfortable and calm because he's done it all. He's been there. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And that did not get talked about enough going into that draft.
You could probably say the same thing about Bo Nix. Now, it did not work out for him in the playoffs, but Bo Nix played a ton of football at Auburn and at Oregon. You see what he also did his rookie year. 30 seconds. Is Chicago really regretting not taking Jaden Daniels, or do you think Caleb Williams will be all right?
I think Caleb Williams isn't the problem in Chicago. I think that's what it is. I think if Jaden Daniels had gone to Chicago, he would have had a much more difficult time being the version that we've seen this year than Caleb Williams would have had a lot more help in Washington. And I think that speaks again to the organization, the coaching staff. I think Jaden Daniels had more help. I'm not trying to discount what he did, but I think it would have been a tougher situation for him. For the Bears, I don't think they regret not taking him. I think they regret not having as much of a support network in place to allow their quarterback to shine. because I think it was a lot harder for Caleb Williams to be himself the way Jaden Daniels has been able to be this season.
Luke Easterling, Athlon Sports, one of our favorites when it comes to talking about the National Football League. Luke, appreciate you as always. Once the Jaguars have a head coach, we'll get you back on to react. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, anytime, Ryan. You guys take care.
People love to listen to play-by-play on the radio.
This is unbelievable what we're witnessing. I'm serious.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. It's playoff time, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. The app is really simple to use. Pick 2 or more players across any sport, pick more or less on their projection, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account for this season. Join Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, available to play in more than 40-plus states, including California and Texas. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code JAX, J-A-X, to get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code JAX on Prize Picks, $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Hey, folks. Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it. They do it, whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
Don't go through another year with all that high-interest debt. Let Loan Pronto wipe it all out now. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards or tackle that 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket fast. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's AI-driven tech gets you approved and funded in as little as 1 day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off all their credit cards, 2 cars, and personal loans, saving over $1,500 per month. With low fixed rates and lightning fast transfers, you can do it too. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances. Imagine being credit card debt-free by this time next week. You can. Don't wait. Call Loan Pronto now, 904-999-1508, or visit loanpronto.com. Get your free quote now with no hard credit pull at 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166178. Subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
The best teal-colored coverage includes Mia's Quick Hits.
Get the latest news from inside the building and around the league. I'm Mia O'Brien, 1010XL's NFL Insider.
Driven by Arlington Toyota. Available on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Mia here. It's the Everything's on sale going on now at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Get $0 down and just $288 per month for a pre-owned 2022 Toyota Corolla. Or you choose a pre-owned 2021 Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma for $0 down and only $388 per month. Or how about no payments till July 2025? And you get 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it. Shop the Everything's on sale at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned today. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard at arlingtontoyota.com.
Your home is your sanctuary where memories are made. Jack's homeowners trust Superior Fence and Rail to make their home feel safe, secure, and complete. Imagine a classic wood fence for privacy, sturdy aluminum to protect your pets, or a modern vinyl design that boosts curb appeal. Every fence is built with precision and pride, standing strong in every season.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hello, First Coast, I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Hi, Jags fans. Walker Little here for my friends at Kingfish Pest Control. Playing offensive line in the NFL, I must block and protect on every down. When it comes to keeping my home pest-free, I expect that same level of protection. So I contacted Kingfish after seeing thousands of positive online customer reviews about their service. I can confirm from personal experience, bugs don't stand a chance getting past Kingfish Pest Control. Do what I did. Reach out to Kingfish Pest Control to protect your home, a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Nick in here for Bound 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bound 9. Visit Bound 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bound 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Thank you again to Luke Easterling, Athlon Sports, for joining us here to talk about Liam Cohen. Again, that's the direction I think it's going. Not that I'm breaking any news there. It's not rocket science. Of the three people they're bringing in for second interviews, two are defensive guys, one's an offensive guy. And when you pay a quarterback $275 million, one would think you want to provide him with some sort of offensive head coach. I mean, let's honestly think about this for a second, all right? Look at the quarterbacks that have just gotten big deals. Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid. Joe Burrow has Zach Taylor. Jordan Love has Matt LaFleur. Jalen Hurts has Nick Sirianni. All right? Lamar Jackson's an outlier with John Harbaugh. They have surrounded him with coordinators that perfect that offense. Now, obviously, Todd Monken is doing that. But a majority of the quarterbacks have offensive head coaches or one of, if not the best offensive coordinators in football. Josh Allen, defensive guy in Sean McDermott, but he also has Joe Brady, who's a head coaching candidate other locations. So you pay a quarterback $275 million. If it were me, conventional thinking would be you want to get that guy an offensive coach to go with him. Liam Cohen is the only offensive coach that we know of at this point that's coming in for a second interview. Again, if it lands on either Robert Saleh or Patrick Graham as the brand new head coach here in Jacksonville, I think some Jaguar fans are going to need therapy sessions. We'll see what happens. We will talk about the AFC South. Coming up, Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. Not only what's going on here in Jacksonville, but keep in mind the Titans have a brand new general manager and the number one pick in the draft. The Texans season just came to an end. And the Indianapolis Colts have basically already said that 2025 is make it or break it for Anthony Richardson. So it's going to be an interesting offseason in the division. It's already started out interesting in both Nashville and here in Jacksonville. And we'll talk about the division as a whole with Mike Patton. That comes up in about 15 minutes. Quickly, Denmark to college football. The season ended last night. Congratulations to Ohio State, a national championship. Denmark, some would confuse me for an SEC homer. I like to consider myself an objective broadcast journalist, although I can see how some people would say that I'm an SEC homer. Perhaps you as well. Do you get the SEC homer moniker from those around you?
No.
No, that surprises me. because I think you have a very high opinion of the Southeastern Conference. But nevertheless, the Big Ten has now won back-to-back national championships, with Michigan last year and Ohio State this year. So having said that, does the Big Ten have an argument with back-to-back national champions as the best conference in college football?
I'll lean yes, because they have better NILs than everybody in the South. The talent's still the best in the SEC. The SEC just beats each other up. I'm thinking for the next 4 or 5 years, Texas will be probably the best team in the SEC because of NIL, and you're going to have more Big Ten teams. It's probably going to be the same once you get into the 12 and when it turns into whatever the 14 or 16 team playoff. But I think the Big Ten teams, since they have more money in NIL, they're going to make longer runs in the playoff.
Look, I think the Big Ten at the top is probably better than the SEC. It's at least comparable. With Ohio State, you had Oregon now, Penn State. Michigan was down this year. USC was down this year. I would say 1-5, 1-6, very comparable, if not the Big Ten a little better. 1-16, the SEC is a better conference. It just is.
Yeah, I mean, nobody cares about the entire conference. You judge a conference based on the top and the middle. So your top 3 and then your next 4 or 5.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But to me, if you're comparing conferences, you compare conferences.
I mean, yes, but no one's comparing Vandy versus whoever.
No, but I would say Vandy, who's considered to be a bottom feeder in the SEC, to me would be probably middle of the pack in the Big Ten. I guess that's my point. When you talk about Northwestern, you talk about
Rutgers,
Purdue, Rutgers, Maryland. UCLA. Washington this year to an extent. There are some bad teams in the Big Ten. The reason I bring it up is I had somebody that's a Big Ten buddy of mine just basking in the glory of Ohio State's win last night, coming off of Michigan's win last year, and telling me that the Big Ten is the best conference in college football. Look, they've won back-to-back titles. You can't really argue with that. As a conference, I would take the SEC, but give the Big Ten credit because they have absolutely made up ground. Ohio State beat Tennessee, right? Notre Dame, even though they're not in the Big Ten, they're a Big Ten type team. They beat Georgia. It was a down year for the SEC. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody debates that. The main problem is Brian Kelly had to match $1 million of his contract to give to the NIL. Mike Norvell did the same thing at Florida State. There was another school that recently did that, I think, too. You're not seeing any of that from the Big Ten because the Big Ten has more. They have more alumni that are with bigger businesses that care. Not that the SEC doesn't, but the Big Ten has more capital.
At the top, yeah. Like Michigan's got Barstool with Portnoy.
Yeah, exactly. And they have that one of the richest people, whatever it is in the world, that bought Underwood to go to their school. Like I just saw earlier today, someone with Florida Victorious, they put out a bunch of stats like this many people subscribed and this many people signed up. It's like, yeah, it's great, but you don't need me, you, and 100 other people to fund this NIL. It's going to take someone with goopoo dollars with tons of millions of dollars that just wants to say, I care about my football team being good.
Well, look,
and that's where the future of college football is until they regulate it, which isn't going to happen anytime soon.
Well, here's the bottom line. Back-to-back national championships for the Big Ten. There's certainly an argument they're the best conference in college football. They're never going to be the most popular. Go talk to CBS about that. I saw some of the numbers for CBS this year with their Big Ten game of the week at 3:30 compared to what ABC and ESPN were pulling in by getting the SEC. It's unbelievable, man. You want to talk about just a blatant fumble by CBS Sports and whatever reasoning it was to not match the SEC offer from ESPN.
Yeah, they weren't going to outbid ESPN.
Well, they had for the previous 30 years.
Yeah,
so something happened.
CBS messed up where they didn't they kept the same value before A&M Missouri came.
Whatever the reasoning was, it was there is not a good enough excuse. I mean, we're talking about 7, 8, 9 million viewers a week difference in what ABC and ESPN get with the SEC now compared to what CBS got with the Big Ten. That's just a side note. Look, college football ends last night. Congratulations to Ohio State. The one thing I will say about the playoff, I like it. I think there's some tweaking that needs to be involved. But Denmark, it felt long to me, man. The Monday night, January 20th national championship game. I mean, last night was the national championship game in college football. And yet I wake up this morning and there wasn't that much talk about it.
It's been like that for years, though.
Yeah,
every Monday, the national title game, it's been, all right, here's the NFL playoffs, and at the end of, like, every ESPN show or
college football needs to do something about it.
The last segment, they're like, oh, this is the national title game. Who you got?
Yeah, they need to do something about it. And the bottom line is the regular season ends November 30th. The playoff ends January 20th. That's too long. And I know Feinbaum took some grief for this a couple weeks ago, but I tend to agree with him. The Army-Navy game is phenomenal, and it deserves all the recognition. It deserves all the pageantry. It's great. Give it its own time slot on that Saturday, but you should have playoff games on that Saturday as well. There was too much time off. When you have a 12-team playoff, teams should not get almost a month off between the end of the regular season and the first round of the playoff. That needs to change. Conference champions getting automatic buys need to change. The seeding process might need to change. There is tweaking that needs to happen. But I'm far happier that the 12-team playoff is here. Enjoy it next year because there is a very, very good chance it's going to go to 14 or even 16 come the 2026 college football season. By the way, 214 days until college football returns, and it's never too early to look ahead. Week 1's going to be pretty good next year, including Alabama going to Doak Campbell Stadium to take on Florida State on Saturday, August the 30th. 641-1010 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Back into the world of the National Football League, primarily that of the AFC South. Houston's season came to an end on Saturday. Anthony Richardson, make it or break it for him in 2025. The Titans already have a new general manager and the number 1 pick in the draft, and the Jaguars are in the midst of a coaching search. Let's talk about all of it. Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. He joins me next. Tuesday night, Hacker After Dark. Glad you're with us. 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
He's 1010XL's tackle eligible.
You a football player?
And he's always open.
Now go out and catch the ball for a change, all right?
Hi. Leon Searcy on XL Primetime.
Let's go.
Afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Around this time last year, I was celebrating. Why? Because I had reached my goal of dropping 40 pounds with Awaken 180. It felt great. We all set goals, but most times we don't have a plan to hit them. So it's not really a goal. I'd call it more of a wish, and we know how that saying goes. With Awaken 180, I didn't wish the weight away. I had a plan, and this time, I knew I'd reach my goal, and I did it. 40 pounds gone in just 2 months. Simple. That was a year ago, and I haven't put on a pound. How do I feel? Like $1 million. Like the horizon line that looked so far away all those years is now right in front of me, and it's a brand new day, and it's time to seize it. Night and day from where I felt carrying around all that weight, having to untuck my shirts, winded trying to tie my shoes. If you're overweight, you know what I mean. Set your goal and know you'll reach it with the solution for weight loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab Crab House.
Good morning, Beat Freaks. Who's ready to move? Let's start this day right.
Tasha's morning dance parties are meeting rave reviews.
Lose your phones and find your groove.
They need an ops manager to help their community dance the morning away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com. Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Ammon, you're always talking about how clean air is healthy air. I've had this cold for weeks. Can cleaning my air ducts actually help?
Well, Dad, I'm not a doctor, and let's be honest, you probably caught that cold from one of your grandkids. But I can tell you this, the cleaner your air, the better you'll feel.
Makes sense, but what do air ducts have to do with it?
Your ducts are like the lungs of your home. If they're full of dust, allergens, and who knows what else, all that junk gets blown into the air you breathe, especially now that the heat's running. And the EPA says improving indoor air quality can reduce health risk.
So you're telling me my vents are working harder than my immune system?
Exactly. That's why Zero Res is here. We're NADCA certified, and our truck mount system is the most powerful in the industry. Right now, we're even offering $100 off your total for January.
All right, sign me up. If it makes me feel better and keeps your mom off my back, I'm all in.
Good call, Dad.
Zero Res.
Spelled border backwards. It's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
What's happening, folks? E.T. here, and get out of the house and crush those New Year's resolutions on the beautiful trails of Clay County. With perfect weather, now's the time to explore Jennings State Forest, Mike Rose Gold Head State Park, and Belmore State Forest. And after your hike, refuel at one of Clay's local favorites, like Dalton's Sports Grill or the Corner Pocket. Clay is my home, so I can promise you my people will take care of you. Trust me, just visit exploreclay.com and share those adventures at #ExploreClay.
Jacksonville. When AEW returns home, it is the biggest party in all of professional wrestling.
Daily's Place, the home of AEW.
And on Saturday, January 25th, Collision returns live. It's a new year and a whole new era in AEW, and there's no better time to experience the excitement than right now. AEW Collision Homecoming, live from Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Tickets on sale now, starting at $20 at AEWTIX.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. There's a lot going on in the AFC South. The Jaguars are still in the midst of a coaching search. We're now entering week number 3, I guess, of that. The Tennessee Titans have a brand new general manager in Nashville. And the Houston Texans were eliminated from the playoffs on Saturday. What does that mean for the AFC South moving forward? For that, Mike Patton is the host of the Touring, the AFC South podcast, and Mike is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
Mike, we're good. Thank you for the time. All right, you and I haven't spoke since Doug Peterson was fired and Trent Baalke was retained as Jaguar general manager, much to the chagrin of pretty much every Jaguar fan listening to us right now. Mike, I can assure you of that. Your reaction to everything that transpired here in Jacksonville 2 weeks ago?
I mean, it was expected that he would be gone. I kind of figured, I was wondering when it was going to happen or if they were going to do it earlier, which I think they probably should have done it earlier, but that's not my choice. And as far as Trent Baalke, I mean, I'm wondering, does he know where any of the bodies buried or anything of that nature as to why he continues to keep his job?
It really is quite amazing. Trent Baalke would be the best player and survivor of the reality game show on CBS. I mean, he would win the $1 million hands down. I mean, he has survived, 3 or 4 different firings in San Francisco. This will be his 3rd different head coach with the Jaguars. And it's odd, Mike, in that, I have a lot of national guys on, respected media members for many, many years around the league that talk about just how bad, quite frankly, Baalke is thought of in league circles, yet obviously the Jaguar owner does not share that sentiment.
Yeah, it seems like to me that they're not connected or that the ownership may not be connected as much as he possibly should be. That's what it seems like to me. But of course, I'm not there on the ground in Jacksonville, but it just seems that way to me from just the outside looking in.
Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. All right, the Jaguars have interviewed 10 guys already, which is pretty good. They're just over 2 weeks in. They've already done all 10 of their interviews. They will start bringing guys in for in-person interviews. Obviously, the prevailing thought is, depending on what happens in other openings, Liam Cohen probably firmly in play here. Joe Brady, I think, had a good interview, but he can't talk to them for another week because he's still playing in the playoffs, which complicates that issue. But, Mike, do you believe ultimately it will be an offensive guy that the Jaguars bring in here to be the next head coach?
I do believe it's going to be an offensive guy that they bring in. Quite simply because I remember hearing the news that Trevor Lawrence would have some input on the head coach, and I don't think he's going to have input on being whoever the head coach is going to be without that being someone that's going to, I guess, be there for him offensively. So I definitely believe it's going to be an offensive guy that's the head coach.
Liam Cohen is picking up some steam here locally, and I like Liam Cohen. Back before this process even started, when Doug Peterson was still the coach, I thought Liam Cohen or Ben Johnson, I would be fine with either. My thing with Liam Cohen and thinking more about it, I still like him. It's just puzzling to me, Mike, that I believe the Jaguars were the only team that requested to interview him. And I don't know if that means something, if that means nothing, somewhere in the middle, but it's odd that he's thought so highly of here, and yet he didn't get interviews anywhere else.
Yeah, it's extremely odd because he definitely took a Tampa Bay offense. Of course, they do have, a Godwin and a Mike Evans, but those guys missed part of the season, and he still made things work. Got a running game together, running back by committee there. It's kind of amazing to me, but, honestly, I think he'd be a pretty good fit for that coaching position.
Do you buy the hype surrounding Ben Johnson? Do you think he's going to be as good as advertised?
Honestly, it reminds me of an offensive coordinator named Brian Billick. When Brian Billick was a hot name offensive coordinator, everyone wanted him because of his ingenuity offensively. And then when he got to Baltimore, it wasn't the offense that was great, it was the defense. I say that to say that a lot of times with offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators, when they go to a team, the opposite side of the team that they're the specialist for ends up actually being better. So it wouldn't surprise me if Ben Johnson is hired for that the defense actually is better than the offense. So, as far as, I get it, but you also have to remember those past lessons that history has taught us.
I believe that you are right. I think it will be an offensive guy, but it is interesting, Mike, in that they requested 10 interviews, 5 offense, 5 defense. And yet you look at the divisional round of the playoffs this past weekend, Sean McDermott, Dan Quinn, D'Amico Ryans, John Harbaugh, all non-offensive guys that have all done very well for themselves. You look at Championship Sunday coming up here, Sean McDermott, Dan Quinn, two defensive guys, and then obviously Nick Sirianni and Andy Reid, two offensive guys. Whether it's offense, whether it's defense, the Jaguars just need to get the right guy, which is obviously something they have not done in quite some time.
Correct. But we'll see what happens. But it's going to be interesting just to see whoever they hire, the dynamic between Trent Baalke, the new head coach, and the owner, Shad Khan.
Mike Patton, the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, you're based up in Nashville, and the Tennessee Titans have a brand new general manager, Ran Carthon, out. The head coach, Brian Callahan, remains. So the Titans are going to have a similar problem that the Jaguars are going to have. The GM and the head coach are not going to be synced up on the same timeline. It's just the Titans did it in reverse. They kept the head coach and fired the GM, whereas Jacksonville kept the GM and fired the head coach. But what's been the reaction to Mike Borgonzi coming in as the new GM of the Titans?
A lot of fans actually like it just because of the lineage that he has with the Kansas City Chiefs. For those that aren't aware, when it came to Kansas City Chiefs and the Tennessee Titans, the connection is there because Chad Brinker, another guy who was retained with the organization and, coincidentally was hired by Ran Carthon, and he gets to stay. But that's another story for another day. But Chad Brinker, reportedly, and the new GM for the Tennessee worked together on the L'Jarius Sneed trade, actually. So the familiarity was there, and also with the championship pedigree, there's a lot of good feelings about him here in Nashville coming to be the general manager. But ultimately, I believe it's going to be Chad Brinker that's going to have those ultimate decisions and not the new GM.
Were you surprised Ran Carthon fired after only 2 years on the job?
I am and am not surprised. I am surprised because I'm like, okay, cool. You brought in you're in the same cycle that you just did with the John Robinson era as well. When you fired him and kept Mike Vrabel, repeating that, I am not surprised because it seems like there's a lot of impatience when it comes to trying to improve this organization as opposed to kind of stay in the course and stay in the plan. So, in that case, yes, I am and am not surprised.
We got 3+ months till the NFL draft, so obviously we're very, very early in the process, but Tennessee holds the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, are they looking quarterback? Would that surprise you if they did not go quarterback, or could they go another direction like a Travis Hunter or an Abdul Carter?
Honestly, I think if they don't go quarterback, they trade the pick. I think those are the only two options. I don't think they draft a non-quarterback at number 1.
So you think, not to put words in your mouth, but are they done with Will Levis, at least for a starting spot?
Yes, I believe they are.
Interesting. Should be an interesting year in Nashville, an offseason in Nashville, and obviously will be an interesting offseason here in Jacksonville. That goes to Houston. Houston was the last AFC South team remaining. They went to Arrowhead, put up a good fight, right? Had to battle not only the Kansas City Chiefs, but some would argue had to battle the officials a little bit there as well, as teams tend to do at Arrowhead. And it was too much for the Texans as they fall 23-14. Your thoughts on Houston, another division championship, but unfortunately another exit in the divisional round of the playoffs?
Well, honestly, a lot of people like to talk about the referees and all those different things, but you're discounting the missed field goals, the missed extra points, like that. They're right there in those games. And the thing is, in those big games, you cannot make those crucial mistakes that lose you games. Baltimore found that out. Also, the Rams found that out. So all those teams that they created turnovers or had bad mistakes happen. So the teams that won had 0 turnovers combined. As far as Houston, I mean, the season was interesting in its own right. Wasn't as good offensively as it could have been. Of course, injuries, played a part in that as well. But to me, Houston's got to become better offensively. By better offensively, I mean that offensive line has got to be better. Of course, C.J. Stroud was affected by them. Of course, I can't say everything was on C.J. Stroud, their offensive line either. But they've got some work to do when it comes to being better, and that starts with that interior and that offensive line in general towards getting better. Because if it doesn't get better, then somebody in the AFC South is going to catch up to them. I don't know who, but eventually it's going to happen. I don't see a three-peat in them winning the division next year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Stephon Diggs coming off an ACL. He's a free agent. The Texans haven't gotten any younger. They kind of went older in free agency last year. Picked up some good pieces, right? Danielle Hunter, but Danielle Hunter's over 30 now, so we'll see what happens moving into 2025. And then finally, Mike, let's not leave out the Colts. We've talked about every team outside of Indy. Let's go to Indy. I guess the big story there is that Steichen and Ballard are back. Ballard's like, I don't know if he's as bad. We considered a bulky guy around the league, but I do think people are noticing how long Chris Ballard has been the general manager in Indianapolis. Somewhat of a surprise that he's back for some. Was it a surprise for you?
Was a somewhat surprise. I don't think that he is the answer there. I don't think that he should have been there this long in general, but, somewhat a surprise. But, if you think about Irsay and his loyalty to people and keeping them there for a while or longer than some think he should, he's right on brand with keeping Ballard. And, I know a lot of Colts fans are ready for him to make an exit, but unfortunately he's going to be back there. I will say the press conference he had in the season was quite interesting. And they're able to do all those different things and say all those different things and yet keep his job. That was quite interesting in its own right.
The early offseason talk in Indy is that Anthony Richardson's going to be given one more year, but 2025 could be sort of a make it or break it campaign for him. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I agree. Definitely. I mean, his first year, he was pretty much injured. This year was kind of a little bit of ups and downs. And then next year, of course, that third year is going to be pretty telling. Reason why I say that is because, of course, usually around the third or fourth year, you're talking extension with your quarterback. There's been no talk of extension, yet alone any talk of him being the quarterback past year 3 so far. So, yes, definitely year 3 is very, very important when it comes to Anthony Richardson, and especially the Indianapolis Colts.
A lot of interesting storylines in the AFC South. We'll have a brand new general manager in the division. We'll have a brand new head coach in the division. And you got 2 teams with top 5 picks in the NFL draft. Tennessee picking 1, Jacksonville picking number 5. Mike Patton is the host of the Touring the AFC South podcast. Mike, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the podcast and where and when they can find it.
Well, touring the AFC South, we talk about, of course, obviously the Colts, Texans, Jaguars, and Titans. We, go around the division. A lot of maybe draft talk coming up with the Titans having the number 1 pick and the Jaguars having the number 5 pick. It's going to be a lot around that with a lot of different guests, whether it be draft experts or just people that cover the team. Of course, you can find touring the AFC. You can find it on all listening platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And also you can find it, if you'd like to watch the show, on YouTube at the Mike Patton Podcast Network.
Mike, always enjoy the time. I know you're busy. Thank you. Once the Jaguars land on a new head coach, we'll give you back on to react to that hire. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Where electrifying moments come to life.
Inside of a minute to play.
And legendary performances live.
A monumental milestone in a legendary career.
1010XL. The power of Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait, but
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners. So you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks.
Stay cooler with Bueller. Visit BuellerAir.com.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payment. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 16617881, subject to lender approval, NMLS consumeraccess.org.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Go inside the huddle with our QB, David Garrard.
Hey, I know if you give me time, baby, we can do whatever we want.
And get into the head of an NFL signal caller. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by WaterboyJax.com on 1010XL.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
If you're between ages 16 and 24, you can learn a career in construction, electrical, plumbing, or masonry with free training from the AMI Kids Florida Registered Free Apprenticeship Program. Call 576-7337.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating at a local blood donation center.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us. Gator basketball back on the court tomorrow. South Carolina, road game up in Columbia. Florida still in the top 5 in America. 16-2. 3-2 in the conference. Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com, will join me not only to talk about Gator hoops, both on the court and off the court, but a little bit on Florida football. It's been 1 month since the bowl game. Heck, spring football is about 4 or 5 weeks away from starting, which is pretty wild to think about. We'll kind of take a look back on the offseason that has been to this point for Billy Napier and the Gators. The attrition, guys they lost, guys they got, guys that came back instead of declaring for the NFL. How did Billy Napier fare this offseason to this point with the roster? Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com, joins me coming up here in less than 10 minutes. The Orlando Magic are losing to Toronto tonight by 15. They're about to lose their 6th game in 7 tries, and they have 8 guys that are not playing tonight. 8 due to injury or illness, as they're calling it. I'm about ready to have a conversation with the Orlando Magic strength and conditioning staff, the Orlando Magic medical department. Again, I'm 41 years old. I am what you would consider a diehard sports fan. I've been following the Magic, the Jaguars, the Gators, numerous teams my entire life. I have never seen a team this injured for this long in one season before. It is not normal. It is to the point in Orlando where there needs to be a conversation about what on earth is going on, because you should not be without 8 guys for an NBA regular season game. That is preposterous. And look, if the Magic don't feel like playing, I guess I shouldn't feel like watching them or listening to them. So about to lose 6 out of 7. They have basically an expansion roster on the court tonight. Denmark, can you tell I'm a little pissed?
No.
I'm very upset.
Like this almost every night with the Magic.
I mean, you're without 8 guys. Something's got to give. Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com. Next, Hacker After Dark.
First Coast living.
Always.
Jags loving.
Let's go, Jags!
This is the Duval life.
We're Duval till we die, baby.
1010XL.
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T here, and it's a brand new year, which means a brand new you, especially in the bedroom. So if you're ready to make 2025 the year to level up where it counts, let me make it a little easier for you. Get yourself some Blue Chew. They've got a chewable tablet that has the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin. That means you're getting top-tier performance, my boy, without leaving the house. Blue Chew comes right to your front door in a discreet package, so your neighbors won't even know what's going on. But you will. No doctor's offices and no pharmacy run. Just licensed medical providers helping you find the right prescription. And guess what? They're made right here in the USA. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Yeah, you heard me. Your first month is free. So what you waiting for? Visit BlueChew.com and get a consultation. And start your year off with confidence to keep things interesting in that bedroom. Get that Blue Chew at BlueChew.com, baby. Let's make this year unforgettable.
New Year's resolutions. But let's be honest, by February, that gym membership is just a $50 a month guilt trip.
So why not take that cash and finally fix your leaky faucet, unclog that drain, or tune up your AC?
Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning has your back. Start the year fresh. No leaks, no clogs, no excuses.
It's a resolution you'll actually keep.
Call Duck Rooter at 904-862-6769 today. Because when you're stuck, call the Duck. Right now, get $50 off any service of $150 or more.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
To...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a Rollies.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
When my wrist pain was acting up and I needed help, I took Dan Hickens' advice and headed over to see the experts at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. This is Stuart Moore with the PGA Tour. I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whenever you have a need, they took great care of me. They'll take great care of you.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. The next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,600 per ounce. Pay bills. Buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security has a huge prize sweepstakes now through the big game. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a sound bar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box for your chance to win the $2,500 prize now through February 9th. Tyson Sound and Security now at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Rev up your life with luxury at Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Right now, used car prices are 12% lower than their peak in April of 2022, making this the perfect time to drive home in a dream car. Specializing in luxury used vehicles, offering you elegance at prices that are finally coming back down to earth. See special listings in the newspaper every Saturday or online at VaughnMotorGroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Why is the Dead Sea so named? The answer next.
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The Dead Sea is 9 times saltier than any other sea, which means no living creature can actually live there.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Florida Gator basketball team remains in the top 5 of the latest AP poll. Even after a home loss to Missouri, they come back and absolutely destroy the Texas Longhorns. Florida now 16-2, 3-2 in conference play, and one would think a couple winnable games, right? South Carolina tomorrow, Georgia, and Mike White returns on Saturday. Let's talk a little Gator basketball. Let's also focus on Gator football as well with my buddy Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
Andrew, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. And all right, I was very curious about Florida last Saturday, losing a game like they did to Missouri. Really the first adversity to me, Andrew. I mean, you score 100 at Rupp, you lose, but I don't know how much adversity the Kentucky game was. But you lose to an unranked Missouri team, and I thought, all right, this is honestly the first adversity, big adversity the team had faced all year. They come back against Texas on Saturday and absolutely destroy them. I mean, I thought Todd Golden and the basketball team showed something on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, now you've been able to see the team bounce back from 2 losses, and like you said, I don't know how bad the loss at Rupp really is. I mean, when you go to Rupp, first of all you go in with the expectation that it's going to be a very tough game. And then when Kentucky shoots lights out like they were, first of all, when you go back to Rupp, Kentucky's never going to shoot as good as they did. So you've seen this team battle back twice. And, I think you have to look at the resiliency of the guard play, especially, when you talk about Clayton and Martin and Will Richard, those guys, they're seasoned vets. They understand what it is, and they understand that this is a long, conference play, a long season. They also knew they probably were not going to go undefeated. And I think for me, and I really talked about this a lot really after the Kentucky game, I just wanted to see how close these guys really were and how they were going to bounce back. And, obviously they showed that with the Tennessee win, and then they showed that with the Texas game. And, Texas isn't as good as, Tennessee and the Auburns of the world, but they're still a good basketball team. And, like you said, they absolutely routed those guys there. And, you hope that now that they see that and they see the Missouri game, that every game now they still bring that presence, that defensive presence, like they did in that Tennessee game, like they did in that Texas game, and like they have literally all year outside of that Missouri and Kentucky game.
I think when Zion Poland and Tyrese Samuel left, and obviously Micah Handlocked, and we knew he wasn't going to come back from injury and he was going to redshirt, there were certainly some questions about this Gator team coming into the year. But the day that both Will Richard and Walter Clayton, after testing the NBA waters, announced they were coming back, you thought at that point, all right, they're going to be decent. And then you get Elijah Martin, and you get the other transfers, Ruben, the big man in the middle, and Sam Alexis. And at least I thought probably as good as maybe last year. I did not think 16-2 and ranked in the top 5 in America for the first time since December of 2017. I mean, how surprised are you that this team is as good as they appear to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way as you are. I thought this was a team that was, maybe a second weekend team in the tournament. After Clayton comes back and Richard comes back, and you get Martin, and Condon and Hawk are very good inside as well. And like you said with Chinaloo, you thought this was a team that could make the Sweet 16. But to be as good as they are was definitely surprising. And I think the biggest thing has been their defense. They've started to play defense and play hard. And, I think we can all agree that's probably Elijah Martin and Chinaloo inside. Both of those guys, really bringing that. But, more so than anything, just Elijah Martin really challenging those guys to play that away. And, I think that this team, too, has that ability because of if Walter Clayton, for instance, is having a night off, it's okay. Martin's good. Richard's good. Those other guys can score. You got Aberdeen off the bench. You got a lot of different scorers that can score. You're not focusing on one guy. And, in the past, I think we've talked about teams, throughout the last few years that it's like, all right, if they're not having a good game, this is not going to be a good win for this team. It's not going to be a good day for this team. You go back to the Colin Castleton and those guys. It was a one-man show. This isn't a one-man show. 1 through 5 can score and really have a big night.
Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. The thing about this team that's a lot different from, say, those Billy Donovan teams, and even a couple of Mike White teams that were good at the beginning of White's tenure, is they're not very deep, Andrew. I mean, they only play 8 guys, right? They got 4 guards and they got 4 bigs. And knock on wood, they haven't had injury problems. If they have injury problems, it's a completely different conversation. But with an 8-man rotation, does that concern you at all? Or obviously it's been fine for 18 games, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I think you're kind of seeing that the game kind of go to a shorter bench, in general. You even talk about it a little bit in the NBA where, you're going to a little bit of a shorter bench. And, you look across teams, and I think a little bit of that has to do with the transfer portal and NIL and all that your bench is a little bit smaller. And, when you look at the tournament, I guess, but still, you're just doing one back to back. It's not like you're got 4 or 5 back to backs there. So I think they can get by with it. Obviously, like you said, they need to stay injury free. But I think the biggest thing too with this team is they don't rely just on the 3 ball. They like to work inside out if they can. Clayton and Richard and Martin, those guys, they like to take it to the basket as well. So, tired legs, I don't think, will be as big of a deal. But again, injuries is what, you get concerned about. And you'd like to see a couple more guys get in there. And you're starting to see a little bit like Alexis is starting to get a little bit more playing time and that. But still, I'm okay with it. I don't know that I don't want the ball in Walter Clayton's hands 38 minutes a game.
It's been weird off the court for Gator basketball, and you're a lot closer to it, obviously, being over there in Gainesville. But the Todd Golden stuff at the beginning of the year, and boy, nothing seemingly materialized out of that. It's just that is just a wild story to me, that those allegations, as bad as they were, and he kept coaching and now it's kind of like gone away. And boy, I'll tell you, there has to be some defamation lawsuits coming if that's proven to be not true. And now you got the Torian Green stuff. I mean, what has it been like over there with all the off-the-court stuff? But again, it has not affected the team because they're in the top 5 in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's weird. Like, with the Todd Golden stuff, there was apparently photos. You either have them or you don't have them. Either show the evidence or don't show the evidence. And, when we had heard back in late December that they were going to come out with a statement, saying that they had found nothing on Todd Golden, and then that got put off. And then the Torian Green stuff comes about. And, I'm at the point where, I obviously you have to believe, where there's some smoke, there's got to be some fire. But at the same point, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, you either have the evidence or you don't have the evidence. And, the Toria Green stuff coming out after Golden, it's like, why did you wait? If it was there, why did you wait? Again, need to see it play out. Torian Green's going to coach. I think that you're starting to look at a situation where it's almost like Golden and Torian Green and those guys. How much more can they take before the university steps in and helps them? And how much is Todd Golden going to allow it before he's like, you know what? I don't know that I have the support of the university.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And again, you would think something like that could affect the basketball team, but again, it has not. 16-2 in the top 5 in America. I mentioned South Carolina tomorrow. Look, it's a road game in the conference, right? You never want to take those for granted. But on paper, South Carolina is one of the poorer teams, I guess, in the SEC. And then you get Georgia in Gainesville on Saturday. Mike White, always, when he comes back, it's a big deal. So on the surface, it looks like Florida very easily could be, a 5-2 in the conference, 18-2 basketball team before they head to Knoxville for what will be an enormous game against Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that Georgia game looks like a win on paper, but, remember, this is the same Georgia team that knocked off Kentucky and, battled with Tennessee. And, Mike White's got these guys playing really well up in Athens. And, obviously, like you say, it's going to be a bitter game. It's a rivalry game. It's a game that, Florida wants to win against Mike White. And I think it'll be a tough game for sure. Like you said, road wins in the SEC, they're hard to come by. So go get one in South Carolina tomorrow, and then get the Georgia one to get prepared for Tennessee. And when you go up to Tennessee, they're going to be looking for blood. And this is a Tennessee team that is reeling a little bit, with 2 losses now. And you need to build these 2 wins before you go to Tennessee, because SEC wins are going to be so hard to come by. I mean, you talk not just about the Tennessee game, but you got Auburn coming up. You got Alabama coming up. You need these 2 wins against South Carolina and Georgia. Like you said, 2 of the lower tier conference teams to build that resume and to build your standings a little bit.
Yeah, Tennessee will be out for revenge after what Florida did to them in Gainesville a couple of weeks ago. A couple of more. Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com. Andrew, I haven't talked to you in about a little over a month. And boy, Florida, if you would have told Gator fans this offseason that they would have some attrition, right? Shamar James is gone. Jack Pyburn is gone. TJ Searcy is gone. It hasn't been all great. but you get Tyreek Sapp back. You get Caleb Banks back. You get TJ Slaughter back. You get Austin Barber back. You get a 5-star receiver in Vernell Brown. You get another one in Dallas Wilson. I mean, I think all in all, in totality, this offseason's been pretty good for Billy Napier and the Gator football program, has it not?
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have loved to add an offensive tackle, but the point of it is that nobody got in the portal that was really good enough to do that. And, you take that risk a little bit when, you hope that somebody gets in the portal. And when it doesn't work out, it's like, all right, okay, I have to stick with what I got. And they decided that, Caden Jones and Fletcher Westfall, those guys that were recruited by Florida and played in the bowl game down in Tampa, they look good. So they're going to go with those. And, I think the biggest win that nobody, really talks about a lot. And again, we're in a world that what happened today is today. And, what happened yesterday, we forget about. But getting Caleb Banks back might be the win of the offseason. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was dominant the last half of the season, the last quarter of the season. I mean, when you go back to that LSU Ole Miss, Florida State game and even some of the bowl game, dominant, just absolute dominant the defensive line was, and that was all due to Caleb Banks and the pressure he was getting up the middle. So I think that was the biggest win. You went out and you got Sturdivant, the big receiver that was needed, and that's a good pickup. You finally got your backup quarterback in Harrison Bailey, and listen, he doesn't need to play. All you need him for is insurance in case what happens last year happens this year, and Lord help us, we hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, you need to have a scholarship quarterback as the backup instead of a walk-on in and Aiden Werner. And no disrespect to him, but you need that. So overall, I think it was a really good all season, and I'm not sure that it's done completely yet. I think you'll definitely see some movement after the spring, as we always do. But all in all, this is set up to be a really good football team for Billy Napier in 2025.
Look, you and I will talk, I'm sure, many times this offseason leading into the season in August. But last year, there were basically no expectations coming into football because you saw the schedule. People had really no confidence in Billy. And I think that would have been true in mid-October. But all of a sudden, you beat Ole Miss, and you beat LSU, and you beat Florida State, and you win your bowl game, and Billy's back. And even though it's largely the same schedule, I would have to think, Andrew, there's going to be quite a few expectations on the Gators in 2025.
Yeah, I've seen Brett McMurphy has them in the top 15, in his early poll. And, obviously that's early. The season just ended last night. And so but yes, I mean, there is. I mean, when you have a quarterback as good as DJ Lagway, and Ryan, I think you and I can agree here, the hype around DJ is the most has been around a quarterback since Tebow. And that's just what it is. And, that's the nature and the good and the bad of being the quarterback at the University of Florida. But, DJ is considered to be one of the top returning quarterbacks in the country. And I think you and I both agree he's really, really good. And, you go into next season, and yes, the schedule is still the same. But you think, okay, Miami, you can easily turn that around to a win. You talk about that Tennessee game. It's at home. You could easily turn that game around. Who knows what Georgia's going to be. They got Gunnar Stockton that we think is going to be their quarterback next year. You got Texas coming here with Arch Manning. And obviously, I think we all agree Arch should be pretty good. But you think about those losses, and you think how close they were in some of those losses and how easily it could be turned around with an offense that's good and a defense that looks much improved the last half of the season. We'll see how that is next year after Austin Armstrong left. But I have to look at it and say the expectations are very high, and for good reason, because this should be a good football team.
Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com. Andrew, final question. National Signing Day really is December now. There is still one in February, right? Should Gator fans be on the lookout for anything as far as a finishing touch or two on the recruiting class?
Well, is there even a signing, day, signing anything? I mean, guys just leave. Florida was the beneficiary of Dallas Wilson, signing with Oregon and then leaving before he ever gets up there. And I know Florida fans aren't going to be upset about that. But, you see the Wisconsin stuff. But, yes, they should. Onus Konbabi. Ryan, I butchered his name. I know I did. The DB out of North Carolina, considered or committed to Tennessee right now. Considered signing with Florida in December. Didn't visited Florida this past weekend, and looks like Florida's in good shape there. Outside of that, that's probably the only high school guy that Florida will sign. Really, the only high school guy they're recruiting right now, barring something changing here in the next 2 weeks. So that one should be it. And you kind of put the wrapper on a really, really good class. I mean, when you talk about that receiver class with Vernell and Dallas Wilson and really Nashawn Montgomery, and I know we hadn't talked, but he dominated down in the Under Armour game in Orlando. That's a really good receiver class.
Yeah, Nashawn Montgomery, you're right. That's the guy that's not Vernell Brown and not Dallas Wilson, but that was kind of similar. I'm not going to say this is going to happen, but I remember when Aiden Mizell and Gene came in, and there was this other guy named Eugene Wilson. And everybody was talking about Mizell and Gene, and nobody was really talking about Eugene Wilson, and he turned out to be the best wide receiver in that recruiting class. And I'm not going to say Nashawn Montgomery will be that, but just keep that in the back of your mind, that Montgomery is also a very, very good third receiver in this class with Brown and Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, we watched him in Under Armour practices and in the game, and I mean, he was really, really good. I remember asking someone when Florida took his commitment, what they thought, and they were like, "This guy's Devontae Smith." They said, "This guy works hard. He is going to be the first one in, the last one out. He's underrated. He, didn't maybe have the best, coaching in high school at his position." But is a guy that works really, really hard. And that Devontae Smith thing is stuck with me. And, when you watch him practice in Under Armour and in that game, you kind of see a little bit of that shake that it is. And, like you said, you wouldn't be the first time a guy came under the radar, and was a star. I think we can go back to Riley Cooper. Nobody thought Riley was going to be the star of that. And look at his career.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's a lot of examples. Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com. Andrew, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan.
Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as the Gator basketball team remains in the top 5 in America, now 16-2 on the year, 3-2 in conference play. They play at South Carolina tomorrow night, a game you'll hear on 1010XL. They also play Saturday at home against the Georgia Bulldogs before a huge one in Knoxville against the Tennessee Volunteers 1 week from Saturday. So we spent some time on that. Gator football talk as well, as they got a brand new quarterback in the mix out of the transfer portal. But obviously, as you can imagine, a lot of time tonight was spent on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the NFL, the playoffs, Championship Sunday, and on the coaching carousel. That is, of course, Ben Johnson to Chicago sent just tidal waves across Northeast Florida yesterday. A lot of built-up emotion from Jaguar fans, frustration. Although I'll tell you what's interesting, man, and thinking more about it, and we talked about this earlier. All right, you take a deep breath. You kind of shake the cobwebs out, right? What if they land on Liam Cohen as the head coach and Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator? Or Liam Cohen as the head coach and Patrick Graham as the defensive coordinator? You could do a lot worse than that. If Liam Cohen is not the head coach of this football team and they hire Robert Saleh or Patrick Graham to be the head coach, I think there will be some obvious questions, even more so than there are now. But if you get the young offensive mind in Liam Cohen with the veteran defensive guy like either a Saleh or a Graham to go with him, then I think we're talking a little bit. And that's ultimately where I hope it lands. And at this point, that's where I believe it will ultimately land. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Andrew Spivey, GatorCountry.com. He's one of our guys in Gainesville Always enjoy the conversation with Andrew Spivey. Thank you to Mike Patton. He is the host of the Touring, the AFC South podcast, as we talked to Mike about the Jaguar coaching issues. Also looked at the Tennessee Titans and their brand new general manager. Put a bow on the Houston Texans season as they lost on Saturday at Kansas City. And then we also spent a little bit of time on Indianapolis, kind of the forgotten team right now in the AFC South. And look, Anthony Richardson's going to have a make-or-break year here in 2025. I don't think there is any question about that. And in hour number one, Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports. Luke was based in Tampa and is around the Buccaneer organization quite a bit. And we just had a good conversation about Liam Cohen and got Luke's thoughts not only on Liam Cohen, but on the draft. The Jaguars have the number 5 pick in the NFL draft, and Luke Easterling is one of the best when it comes to draft talk. And we talked a little draft when it came to the Jaguars and that number 5 overall selection. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Anthony. I've been practicing criminal defense law for over 40 years. It's what I love to do. It's what I do well. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. 285-4LAW for Malcolm Anthony.
Hacker here, and let me tell you, I've crushed some goals in my life, but this one is big. Under 200 pounds, thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. My first goal was to lose 100 pounds. Honestly, that was a cakewalk. So I set my sights on breaking the 200-pound mark. And guess what? I just hit it. Now, I get it. Most of you don't have 120 pounds to lose like I did. Maybe it's 25 like Dempsey or 40 like Matt Hayes. But here's the deal. No matter how much weight you need to lose, Awaken 180 works, and we're proof. We can't hide these results, and we don't want to. Awaken 180 is proven. It's easy, and the weight pours off fast without a life of medications. You follow the plan, lose the weight, and it's gone for good. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Visit awaken180weightloss.com and see what you can accomplish. If we can hit these goals, you can too. 844-346-1800 or online, awaken180weightloss.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist.